Hello, my name is John Broadwell, and I'm an embedded systems consultant and medical device development consultant at my company, Broadwell Consulting Incorporated. If you need help in those areas, feel free to reach out. Today we're going to be talking about the ability to update firmware with new releases that come from Broadwell Consulting on the Serial Wombat 18AB chip. You can update using I2C or UART, depending on how you have your chip configured. It's important to note that this video is coming out before the release of the product, so it's possible there'll be some changes in the final product. Take a look at the notes down below for any changes that have happened since this video. If you like, also subscribe, and that way you'll be able to know through your YouTube channel when new firmware revisions with new and exciting features or bug fixes come out. So let's take a look real quick at the circuit that we'll be using first to do an I2C update. And it's exceptionally simple. It is the base Serial Wombat 18AB I2C circuit that you see in the Getting Started video. We've got our two bypass caps, our core capacitor, two pull-up resistors, and a pull-up resistor on the reset line. You'll note that our address line is floating, which gives us an address of 0x6b for I2C. We're hooked up to a Node MCU ESP8266 clone. This is the only chip at the time of this video that supports the firmware update. I will certify other platforms in the future, but in any case, they need to have enough space to store the entire Serial Wombat 18AB firmware within an array in the sketch, so that knocks out some of the smaller boards like the Arduino Uno. Downloading is quite simple. We will go to File, Examples, Serial Wombat 18AB, Firmware Update I2C. This particular sketch will always have the latest firmware that is available as of the release of that Arduino library. So you want to do an update first on your Arduino library and then do the firmware sketch update if you're aware of a later version. Note that if you're using an address other than 0x6b because you used a resistor to ground to set a different address, you need to change this address in the sketch. So this is ready to go. Let's do Tools, Sketch, Upload. And let's take a look at the serial output from this sketch. And we'll see it found an I2C. It's doing a jump to boot. Now it's erasing all of the application blocks for the chip. Now it's writing them. And we'll speed this video up a little bit. Now it's calculating the CRC. It's doing this internally on the chip. It's looking at the flash. Inside of the flash image, the proper CRC is also stored. And so we're going to do that calculation on chip and compare it to the output. And we see, okay, the calculated CRC is 5049. The expected CRC is 5049. So that download went properly and was fully verified. Then the sketch goes into a Serial Wombat chip finder mode, and it says, oh, okay, I found the chip at address 6B. It's it's currently in boot mode. So after you do the download, you need to do a reset on the chip, which can be done by grounding the reset line or just power cycling it. I will power cycle it. And now you can see the next Serial Wombat find that it got. It's model S18 and firmware version 2.05. This may vary with your particular one, but that was a proper download. That's all it takes to update your firmware over I2C. Now let's take a look at UART. The second way that you can download new firmware is using the UART interface. So what we've done here is we've set up the chip to be in a UART mode. You'll notice that the address line is grounded, and I reset by power cycling the Serial Wombat chip after I grounded that line. You'll want to do the download of the sketch to the Arduino board before you hook up the transmit to Arduino board, because on some boards that can override the incoming data from USB, and so that your download won't work. So download first, then hook it up, then use the reset pin on the Arduino. So this, in this case, we can see we have transmit going to the receive on the Arduino and transmit from the Arduino going to the receive of the Serial Wombat chip. These pull-up resistors are still in there from the last sketch. You don't really need them. All the rest of the stuff is mandatory. The other important thing to note is that we have a general purpose I/O running from the Arduino board to the reset line on the Serial Wombat chip. And that's necessary because in this case, we have to know when we've reset the chip in order to start sending data. There's a 60 millisecond window after reset where you can start a download. And so for that timing to work on this, I had to add this reset line. So that's something to keep in mind if you're building a system that you want to be able to do Serial Wombat chip firmware uploads in the field, that you may have to engineer that in. So let's take a look at the sketch. And again, you go under File, Examples, Serial Wombat, 18AB, Serial Wombat AB Firmware Update UART. And so what I would do here is go ahead and do that download. I've actually already done that. Now, one of the reasons I don't like this method as much is that when you're using the serial to do the download, you don't get a window. And so you don't have a lot of clear status information. So for the purpose of this demo, I hooked up a Cellier logic analyzer, and we'll at least be able to see the data going back and forth. So what I'm going to do now is go and I will hit the reset pin. And what we have, the orange line is the reset line. The green line is data going from the Serial Wombat chip, from the Arduino to the Serial Wombat chip. And the purple is the response from the Serial Wombat chip. So let's go ahead and start that up. And I will hit the reset key on the Arduino. And there we see we are off to the races and doing interesting stuff. If I zoom out here, we can see that we had the brief reset, and we can see packets that are transferring back and forth. Here's the Serial Wombat's packet, and here's the response. So it'll go on like that for a while. This initial set of bursts that are farther apart were flash erases, where we erased all the blocks, and now we're sending down data, and each data row of flash is followed up by a write command. You don't actually need to know that, but it's something to talk about while we watch it download. So I will speed the rest up this video up, and we will see the end of this happen. Here we can see this is the request to start calculating the CRC. We're giving it some open loop time to do that calculation. And there's our response. So we go in here, A403, that's saying, hey, what was the result of your CRC calculation? And the calculated result was 05FD. The expected result was 05FD. Again, this is not a great way to confirm proper operation, but it is what it is. Then the sketch throws us through another reset, waits a little while, and give it a second here. And then it does a version request. And we can see over the serial, let's convert this into ASCII, version Serial Wombat chip 18A. A means serial. Firmware version 204. So that download went great. Again, I like the I2C method a lot better, but this certainly works. So that's all it takes to update your Serial Wombat chip firmware for the 18AB chip. Hope you found this video useful. If you have questions about the download process or future requests or whatever, then please leave those in the comments. And again, please check the text below this video for anything that may have changed since this video was produced. Have a great day and keep making stuff. The Serial Wombat firmware is available on GitHub and is constantly being updated. Subscribe below so that you can see the latest features and videos that come out as we fix bugs and add new features to the Serial Wombat. The Serial Wombat open source project was created by Broadwell Consulting Incorporated. Broadwell Consulting Incorporated provides help developing medical devices with a focus on developing embedded firmware, which is compliant with IEC 62304, ISO 14971, and ISO 13485. as well as remediation assistance for products already in production. For more information, contact John at Broadwell Consulting. Support requests for Serial Wombat should be sent to help@serialwombat.com and will be answered on an as-available basis. Also, feel free to leave your question in the comments below.